You are rocking in the mix with the best in the business. Who else but the one and only DJ Influence? The UK artist DJ Influence. Take it away.
The African diaspora refers to the communities throughout the world that have resulted in descent from the movement in historic times of people from Africa. As a Pan-Africanist, I understand the importance of knowing that as a group, we cannot cut off our family that lives on other continents. If you throw one grain of sand at me, I wouldn't even notice. But if you throw a ton of sand over me, I would die. The continent of Africa birthed civilization, so we cannot leave her out of our mind, culture, nor our hearts. Today we have a guest that spends much time in Africa. He has traveled to Benin, Mali, Kenya, and more. He has sat down and talked to the people of the Dogon. He has done all that traveling and has still found time to write books for our children. Family, you have now been issued your mental passport. And this Amir, welcome to the Conscious Conversations podcast.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the work that independent black media like yourself, the work you guys put in. I really do. So thank you for having me.
Anytime, you're welcome. So let's go back. How does one, now I've seen the image of you on your YouTube, and you seem like a young brother. When I call it young, we're not elders yet, so we're all youthful at heart, but you seem very well traveled and very well knowledgeable about the continent. Can you give me a little background on kind of like where all that started?
Actually, as far as traveling to the continent, it was a suggestion from a friend of mine. I told the story before. Basically, what happened, a friend of mine suggested that, I was doing good at work and was making decent commission checks and bonuses. And he said, Dynast, it's time for a vacation. Take a nice vacation. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go to Brazil. And not only am I going to go to Brazil, I'm going to all my buddies that went to Brazil, they're single, they rent these villas out and get these chicks and they have fun. So I said, you know what, I'm going to do the same thing. So the person that was going to host me, who was from Sao Paulo, from Brazil, she ended up backing out. So it changed my travel plans. And another buddy of mine said, hey, why don't you go to Tanzania? I said, Tanzania? He said, yeah, man, you should go. I'm like, I don't know. So I researched Tanzania and learned more about the country and fell in love with a certain part of Tanzania called Zanzibar. And so I said, let's go, let's roll. So I ended up going, and I've been traveling to the motherland ever since. And this was back in 2012.
Okay, so a good 5 years of going back and forth. And in that time, you've hit, I know I named off a couple, but see, I didn't even know about Tanzania. So any other countries that I left off?
Yeah, I've been to Tanzania, Kenya, South Africa, Namibia, Benin, Senegal, Mali, and I think that's it.
That is, first and foremost, amazing. Typically, the few people I've ever heard talk about going to the continent, it's either South Africa or Ghana.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just kind of like the ones that I guess we talk about here in the States. But for you to spread your wings and try some other places that are less known to the average-minded person here, that's awesome. Now, when you told your family and friends, like, hey, this is where I'm going, did you get crazy looks? Was like, why you ain't going to Paris? Why you're not going?
Of course. Okay. They thought I was crazy. In fact, I remember the first time I was in Africa, first time I went, I was in Tanzania. Christmas Day hit while I was over there, and I was in the Serengeti. And, a buddy of mine texted me, Merry Christmas, where are you at? And I told him I was in Africa, in Tanzania, and he kind of, responded back, like, what are you doing over there? So a lot of people do think that it's, I'm kind of out of the box, or it's kind of odd that I travel to Africa the way I do instead of going to, a sexy resort, Cozumel or Paris or somewhere else. But I most definitely would choose going to Africa over any other place, or countries in Africa over any other place. So
that's dope. Now, with that being said, what are some of the misconceptions that us quote unquote Americans have about traveling to the continent that are pretty much blown out of proportion based off of the media that we see.
I think the way Africa is painted as a continent. Well, number one, there's 54 countries that make up Africa, so that's number one. People, when they speak of Africa, they think it's just one large country and continent. Number two, as far as the images they put on TV, as far as Africa being impoverished and skinny babies with big bellies who are malnourished and AIDS and Ebola. And then, I still get friends to this day that ask if there's like lions and tigers and giraffes walking around the city. So yeah, I mean it's real, man, and people really believe the stereotyped Africa, the way the media stereotypes Africa. People really believe that is true. So to this day, I get asked all those questions to this day, and this is by like college educated folks. So yeah, it's yeah. So it's still, people are still very ignorant when it comes to Africa.
You know what? As I sit back and I think about it, like the first images I can recall in my mind are either one of two. I don't know which one was first, but obviously the poor children with the big bellies and the flies all over them. I remember going to sleep with maybe BET on this is in the 90s. And maybe waking up in the middle of the night and seeing the infomercial about a quarter of a day can feed these hungry children. Either that one or a slave narrative. Never, ever until now in my older years have I started to notice and be more aware that it isn't that what was downloaded in my psyche, 20 years ago. There's a way more of Africa, tons of it that we're not even shown here in the States.
Right. There was actually a popular hashtag that was that trended last year called the Africa that media doesn't show you, or the Africa you don't see on TV. So basically, just showing images of Africa that the media refuses to show you, and this all goes back to, I was reading a book by John Johnson, who's the founder of Ebony Magazine, and he said the only way Black people got into the media or made the news back in the like 1940s and 1950s is if it was something negative or if a Black person committed a crime, but it was absolutely nothing positive. No way, shape or form could you show positive images of Black people on TV, and that still somewhat goes on. That rule, even though it's probably not written, still is still in place to this day, for the most part, by the so-called legacy media. So that's part of the reason why, the image they show you of Africa is just of, everything I just mentioned. It's just they got to propagate. And it's not just Africa, it's just Black people in general. We have to be stereotyped in the media as being very uncivilized animals and criminals. So it still goes on today.
Got you. Now, with that being said, is it when you're traveling abroad on the continent, is that another misconception about that us as Americans, we're not welcome? Like you feel like some offness, or you get dirty looks, or like you're not wanted?
I tell you this, it's weird, but I think Black people, especially Black American males, we get way more love outside of America when we travel. I mean, I get nothing but respect everywhere I travel. I've had a couple run-ins, but the way they look up to us, it's amazing as far as Black American males.
Okay, that's dope, and that's what you walking around with a camera documenting what you see for your own personal, you know what I mean? And to share with your following. That's pretty awesome. Now, with that being said, and moving on into another question I have, how easy is it for the traveling plans? If I want to go to Cancun or Cozumel, I just go ahead, go online, boom, 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 find something, and I just go. Is it just that simple as well? Once you have obviously you need a passport, but outside of that, is it pretty much just as simple?
Yeah, it's the same way. It's the same thing. Just choose a city you want to go to in Africa. Go online, Google. I do bed and breakfasts if it's a place I've never been to before. So, I'll research a nice, small, quaint bed and breakfast in the area. Shoot an email to the to the management or the owner or whatever. Tell them I'm coming in town. They'll arrange to have you picked up from the airport. And then once you get to your where you're going to be staying, whether it's with a friend or a bed and breakfast or whatnot, ask for a guide, a local guide who speaks English, who could translate for you. So they'll connect you with that, and then once you get that, just kind of tell the guide what you want to accomplish, what you're here for, and then they'll make it happen.
I'm laughing because you make it sound so simple, and I believe that it is simple.
It is.
But we've been kind of in this box of and watched all the scary movies. Like, you go out of your comfort zone, somebody's going to chop you up and take your organs, and you're American, so they want you because you have what they don't have. And really, we'll just show up. Let me get a translator because we don't speak some of the languages. And it looks like from your YouTube channel, you don't just hit like the New York City, quote unquote, of those countries. You're in it. Like, you're really seeing what it feels like to be part of the culture and understanding from that point of view. With that being said, talk to me about the Dogon. I recently just was put onto that information of the Dogon people and how, correct me if I'm wrong, the word is that they are the lineage from them goes to ancient Egypt, to Kemet.
Correct.
And okay, and they still live very primitive, I would say, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, right. Not in a negative way, but I guess so. Yes.
And with that said, just kind of build on that for me. What it was like being around them, especially with that much tradition and culture. I saw the one where you even asked them. I would love for you to build on when you talked to them about the vegetarian. I saw that video. I thought that was a amazing not just a point of view, but we're talking about quote unquote maybe the oldest people on the planet, living people anyway, and they were going all the way back. So I'm gonna let you just go into it, kind of just fill in the blanks.
Okay. No, the reason why I asked about if they're a vegan or not, it's just, especially in the conscious community, there's a lot of like pseudo information that's being put out there, and like some of it has to do with diet. I'm not gonna say there weren't any I guess African tribes who were vegetarian in antiquity, but I mean, I've never found any, I guess, concrete information that could prove that. So basically, I mean, the Dogon are probably, if not one of the most restricted tribes, especially when it comes to the conscious community in Africa. So, I just pretty much asked them everything. I guess pretty much questions. I guess the pseudo thought that's being spread around. So, situation as far as veganism and all that, and like I said before, I've spent time with these are tribes that have kept the same lifestyle for thousands of years, and there's no concept of being a vegetarian or vegan. They all eat meat. Now there might be some people that can't afford meat, but trust me, when there's goat on the table, they're going to eat it. There's no concept of that. So again, part of the reason why I traveled to Dogon country and to Africa in general was to just really challenge a lot of this pseudo information that's being passed around. So again, the Dogon used to information. So, if someone comes with some type of pseudo doctrine and I take it to a Dogon, and challenge me, try to challenge that. So that's part of the reason why I went to the Dogon tribes, because they're just, in my honest opinion, probably one of the most effective tribes. And of course, they were the first to map the Sirius R, the constellation. And again, just the I wanted that original doctrine, so that's why I went there.
That's dope. So was it, again, just as easy because the Dogon tribe is not too. Is that in the country of Mali? I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
It's kind of breaking up.
Really? It's in Mali. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
And it's in Mali.
Okay. So you get your guide. Hey, I want to, and it's just that simple. Hey, I want to go to Dogon country part, and they're like, cool, and they just go in and pretty much what I saw on your YouTube video. That's just as simple as what it was.
Yeah, basically I had to find a guy who was specifically Dogon. So if there's a specific tribe you want to see, try to find a guy that's a part of that tribe, so he could probably translate for you. And yeah, I told him, so on the Dogon country, I want to sit down with Dogon, which is the spiritual master of each individual Dogon village. He said, yeah, let's do it. So, this past November was the third time that I went.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's up. That's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah.
Now, not only have you been with to see the Dogons, but you also just recently, correct me if I'm wrong, was in Benin?
Yes, I went to Benin for the Voodoo Festival.
Yes. So explain to me. Now, I let go of Western religion / spirituality some time ago. Just because it made no sense to me for me to pick up an institution or systematic belief system that was given up to my forefathers and my ancestors that was enslaved by the same people. It just doesn't make any sense. If we break that all the way down to our own lives, right? If my child was abducted or if I was abducted, the moment I was set free from that individual, and if I ever sat with a counselor, they would let me know, like, hey, or a battered woman. Right? So any of those scenarios, hey, all the stuff that you picked up and you learned while you were in that hostile environment, that was used to control you, right? So once I kind of understood that and started questioning certain things that I've been told, because a lot of people, a lot of time, in my own personal opinion and what I've seen, is we do what we do because it was done and we kind of were told to do it by our parents. Our parents, I love my children. My parents love me. They wouldn't do anything to harm me. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they had the correct information when they made the decision to pass that down to me. So with all that being said, during that same process, and along with the media and the propaganda that we've seen about food doom, that has been given to us as almost like, how can I say it? Like the Scarlet Letter, like the witch hunt or something like that. Like we do not practice that in our culture. We frown upon it. We look at it as some satanic, devilish belief system. If you could, for me, kind of go ahead and dispel that mythology, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to understand. I have a question. Well, if you have a question, Muslim, what were we before Christianity or Islam? We either practice. Well, number one, they refuse to accept it, or they'll try to deny it, or they'll try to avoid the question. I mean, we were animists, or we practiced voodoo, which is pretty much all the same thing. Or, we were I don't know the correct term for what we practiced in Egypt or in Kemet, but I mean that's what we did. And in Islam, especially when it comes to West Africa, is a little different in regards to how it was spread. But with Christianity, I mean, if you're a Christian here in America, I mean, it was forced upon you. And the primary reason why you still practice it is because, like you said, tradition. So, and then when you try to bring up any type of African spirituality, it's frowned upon or looked down on, especially voodoo. So basically, what the Christian missionaries did when they came to Africa, in America, they told the Africans that this voodoo thing is bad. Get you some Jesus, and if you won't accept Jesus, we'll force you to accept Jesus. So, and then not only that, part of that you had the brainwashing that voodoo was bad, that it's a devil, it's a spirit, it's no good. And so our people were brainwashed, and they still believe this to this day. So I wanted to go to the voodoo festival and get the truth from people who actually practice voodoo, and that's what I did to set the record straight, give them the opportunity to set the record straight. So I went there, documented, interviewed people, and it's everything is on YouTube. But I'll tell you this, Dogbu, who was the head chief, the head voodoo chief in Ouida, Benin, he said this quote. He said, "Voodoo accepts everybody, but everybody doesn't accept voodoo. We didn't try to shut the Catholic churches down. The Catholic churches tried to shut us down." So that right there just tells you voodoo is a peaceful religion. I mean, all the voodoo dolls and, putting all these evil spirits on people, that's just Western made by Europeans to keep people, especially black people, not in touch or disconnected from their African spirituality. That's what that is. And just like and just like with everything else, a lot of times black people, we don't research and we just fall for whatever they put in front of us on TV, and that's what's going on.
Makes complete sense from a strategic point of view. Go ahead.
Right, because you got to think about it like this. When's the last time you seen somebody practicing voodoo or a voodoo church go and invade another country in the name of voodoo? Only Islam and Christianity's done that. But again, we'll give that a pass, give them a pass, but this point to voodoo as being the enemy. Or we'll make excuses like, okay, well, all these Christians that are Muslims that invaded and killed in the name of Jesus, in the name of Allah, they're not real Christians or Muslims. You'll give it that pass or try to rationalize it. But when it comes to voodoo, you won't rationalize or give a pass to anybody. You'll just stereotype it as it all being bad, which isn't right.
Right.
And again, what has anybody practicing voodoo done to you or to a group of people? When's the last time people practicing voodoo enslaved anybody, or again invaded or colonialized anybody in the name of Legba or any type of god, any voodoo god, any African god? It's never happened. But again, Christians and Muslims do it every day to this day, and you'll still give them a pass or rationalize it. So yeah.
That makes a lot of sense
on voodoo. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense the way that you put it. I haven't done a whole lot of research on voodoo myself. I've done some basics just to kind of look at it and not be in tear down that wall that was built up of when I was a child of me being afraid of voodoo. So I looked at it, and the spirituality set that I was in prior to me just being a spiritual was a Christian, and the denomination under being a Christian was an apostolic, kind of like a Pentecostal, right? And so they're doing the shouting and the hollering, and they're speaking in tongues, and they're running around the church.
It's all the same. So like with voodoo, when people become, quote unquote possessed, and we look down upon it, but then you go to an apostolic church, running around a pew, speaking in tongues, rolling on the ground, it's all good. It's the same shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like when I really looked at it, and again, I have young children. I'm married, and my mother-in-law is a pastor of an apostolic church. So that means my wife is one of the preacher's kids, and I don't force, unlike other religious sects, I don't force my beliefs on nobody. I'm just going to give you what I believe, and not even what I believe, what I know. This is true. In fact, no other religion outside of those two that you named have invaded countries and colonized people, right? That's a fact. Right? It's not my opinion. So I let them do what they do, but at the same time, I'm not trying to challenge you, but I'm going to let you know certain things. So I told my children this, and I showed a video of a voodoo kind of ceremony where they're dancing and whatnot. And I took the music off. I played it so they could just see it. And I said, tell me what this looks like to you. And my daughter at the time, she was like 15. This is just last year. She says, Dad, it looks just like, at church on Sundays. I'm like, yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's obvious. That's exactly what I thought. That's exactly what my child thought. But again, that wall gets put up that is something demonic, even though it's
right.
What you're doing was stolen from that, if that makes any sense.
Right. You still there?
I'm here. You still there?
Can you? Yeah, I'm right here. I'm not going to hear anything. I don't want to fill up bad air there.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Let me walk around this. All right, go ahead, fam.
Okay. Yeah, so it going off of what you just said, it's the exact same thing, And like you said with the chief priest said, we haven't excluded anybody. Everybody else excluded us. You know what I mean? Right. And it really puts things in perspective on how it really is around here. Now, let me just step into a little something else. You made a video that I thought made so much sense about name changing.
Yes.
If I remember correctly, and just to juggle your memory so you remember, you were talking about how basically in the conscious community, we got some lazy conscious folks that they'll change their name on their Instagram, on the social media, to tell their friends, call me, yada, whatever my new name is. But the bills that come in the mail still have their government name on it. Drop some insight on that for me. Again, I know it's really simple for people to change their name. You really, literally just go down to the court system. But what are some of the reasons? Go ahead.
Sorry, finish your question. My bad. No, go ahead. Finish
your question. Just also drop in on maybe some reasons why people don't go the extra mile and just go ahead and make it official.
Well, I think part of it is A, being lazy, or B, so-called not wanting to be in the system. I think that's part of it. And then B, and then also too, like I said, I mean, the reason why they bring you down to the courthouse is because they run a background check, and there's a lot of people who they get to the courthouse and they get locked up. So that's
hold on one second. You went out for a second. Repeat that last part again. People they do the background check and what?
Yeah, so basically when you petition to get your name changed, they do a background check. So that's part of the reason why you have to come to the courthouse or to actually go to court to get it finalized. So when you go to court, if you have a felony or a record, they're going to lock you in. You're actually doing them a favor. They don't have to come get you. You came to them, so they're going to lock you up right there. So, a lot of it is just legal reasons why they don't go the right way or follow the procedure to the name change. But I think the biggest one I hear that's a bunch of bullshit is I don't want to be the matrix or the system, but you pay AT&T, you pay DirecTV, you pay Mercedes, every day. Mm-hmm. You have a bank account, so you're in the matrix. There's no bulletproof way to completely remove yourself from the matrix. You're on YouTube, you're on Facebook, but you don't want to change your name because you don't want to be in the matrix. It doesn't make sense. So, me, when I changed my name, I was like, look, let me get this legally done. Because another thing I mentioned in the video, I can't stand when somebody so-called gets conscious and so-called changes their name, and then you call them by their legal name, and they're like, nah, that's not my name. But they didn't really change their name. So if you're going to be serious about it and passionate about it, just follow the procedure and get the process done. It's easy. You just file the form, They give you a court date. You go to the court date. The judge approves it, and then you're done. It's real simple.
I completely agree. That's something. Now, as far as changing, getting your name changed, I understand the legal part of it. But for myself, like I've been quote unquote conscious. I've always been conscious, but just on certain levels I wasn't. Right.
Right.
Certain levels of 2 years ago, I didn't have a problem with literally throwing something out of the car window while I'm driving, just littering. You know what I mean? Now I have a problem about that. You know what I'm saying? Like I literally, no matter where I am, I want to be a peaceable person and come with humble hand, unless it's a situation where I have to come be iron fist, right?
Right.
But with that being said, I want to operate on a high frequency. I want to, at the end of the day, when I close my eyes, know that as I look back over the day, do I can't think of the word I'm looking for right this moment, but look at myself for that day, and how can I improve? So every day I just want to be better and better.
Right.
But with that said, so now I'm starting to look at okay, I appreciate the name that my parents gave me. That's what they had, and that's cool. But now I'm at the point where now it's like, hey, I want to change my name. Is there a process that you would recommend for an individual? Like I don't have an elder that I can call right now to say, hey, I want to change my name, blah, 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 and whatever the steps that they would assume would be the best way to go, or a renaming ceremony, or just any steps for anybody like myself that is going down that path. What type of advice would you give?
Well, as far as just do they should a name be assigned to them from somebody else? Is that what you're asking, or?
I guess. I mean, would that be a way to go? Would somebody need an elder to do it, or can I just look it up? I'm sorry, say that again.
My name's Dynast Amir.
Uh-huh.
I came up with that name myself. So it wasn't a process or getting a blessing from the elders. But my Dogon name, Amono, that was assigned to me by the Dogon when on my first trip to Dogon country. So but Dynast Amir, I came up with that name myself.
Okay, that's what's up. Did you do any research into knowing what part of wherever, like what it meant or anything like that, or just kind of
I pretty much I researched it, researched the meanings of it, and I think it identified with me the best, or identified with it the best, and so I went on had it legally done. So I mean that's where you start. I mean, just find a name that you identify with, and if you're wrong with it, I mean, go ahead and get it done.
Simple, real simple. Now, along with that, if I'm not mistaken, I saw a video that you did. I guess it was like your beginning video for searching for Uhuru, where you got your DNA done back in 2011?
I got the DNA done probably in 2013.
Okay.
2013. Yeah,
and for who did you use for that?
I think it went through AfricanAncestry.com.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's AfricanAncestry.com. That's the site you can go to.
Okay. And did that after getting that and finding out, because they broke it down to not just, all right, this is the country, right? Because then you got the country, and that's still a lot of land mass. You know what I mean? There's depending on what country, if I'm not mistaken, it could be hundreds to thousands of different tribes that are in that country. But African Ancestry broke it all the way down to the tribe, correct?
Yeah, right, correct. So on my mother's side, I'm Mende, which is the tribe out of Sierra Leone, and then on my father's side, I'm Balanta, which is a tribe out of Guinea-Bissau. Okay.
Now, after finding that information, and by this time you had already made a trip to the continent, correct?
No, I have not been to those corresponding countries.
No.
Those corresponding tribes. Go ahead.
I mean, the continent in general.
Yeah. I mean, I went to the continent before.
Right. Now, but we're finding out that information in 2013 as far as breaking it down by tribe. Was it?
Yes.
As far as the spiritual, metaphysical,
Yeah, it was
mental
like,
eye-opening?
Yeah, it was definitely a more of a closer connection to the continent, just knowing what tribe you're from. So pretty soon, I will be going to visit those tribes and sitting down with those tribes.
That's what's up.
So it does build a stronger connection, again, to those corresponding tribes. Yes, it does.
Okay, that's awesome. With now with this, you're filming or about to produce a documentary, or it's in the works,
Doctor Who?
or something planned? A documentary?
Doctor Who?
No, I'm sorry, a documentary about
documentary. I thought you said Dr. Henry. I'm like, ooh, Dr. Henry.
I got you.
My bad. Documentary.
No
yes.
entitled,
So the documentary is Search for Uhuru.
Okay.
Yeah, so but basically what I'm doing, I changed the concept a little bit. I'm still gonna shoot the main documentary, but what I'm gonna do, every country that I visit, I'm gonna. So, for example, Senegal, I did Islam is along with the Benin who just set the record straight. So, every country I go to, I'm going to shoot a short documentary series called In Search Of. And then, of course, the grand finale is going to be In Search of Uhuru, where I actually reclimb Kilimanjaro and then go visit the Mende tribe and the Balanta tribe, respectively.
That's dope. Would you put that as a life mission of yours? Like something that's on there that after it's over with, like, you know what, I had a purpose. One of the purposes I've had, everybody doesn't have just one, but that definitely sounds like a dope life mission to me. Yes,
absolutely. I mean, it's it's basically what I'm supposed to be doing right now. It's my role. The position that I have to play in life as of right now. So that's why I'm doing it.
That's dope. That's real dope. I definitely commend that. Along with that, not only are you documentary, but you're an author as well of children's books.
Yes,
What's that journey been like?
I've written several children's books, and I've also written a sales book. You know what? It was just an idea. Like after I wrote my first sales book, Sales Motivation 101, Get Off Your Ass and Cold Call, I was like, you know what? I want to write a children's book. And I just started writing and found an illustrator, my boy Yashar Clemens, who's done all the illustrations of my books, and started releasing them for Kindle. So yeah, it's it's somewhat of a process. But, it's something I definitely enjoy doing.
That's dope. Definitely a bag of mystery. I can do it all. I would definitely say that. I'm looking right now. It's not that we're not talking about like one book either. You wrote several children's books.
Yeah, I've written probably 6 or 7.
That's amazing. And I will definitely add those to the listeners they'll be in the show notes for the links where you can purchase these books, as well as the Sales Motivation 101, Get Off Your Ass and Cold Call. Now, with you even coming up with a title like that, I'm going to naturally assume that you have a background in sales of some sort.
Yeah, sales is what pays the bills, and that's my I'm not going to say 9 to 5, but my 8 to 6. Yes.
Gotcha.
That's what pays the bills and funds the travel. So and of course some people do contribute, but I would say the majority of it comes from my actual job. So,
Understandable.
yes. But I've been doing sales now. I started when I graduated from college, 2007 now. So I've been doing sales for about 9-10 years.
Okay. So, yeah, so therefore you definitely know what the heck you're talking about.
Yeah, I do.
So, well, I know that your time is valuable, and I want to thank you again for taking out the time to have this conversation. How can the listeners find you and your work?
Yeah, I mean, if you go on YouTube, search for Hurus all together. So SEARCHFORUHURU on YouTube. Also, that same is also the same for Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. Search for Huru. And then on Amazon, if you want to purchase a book, just search my name, Dynast Amir, DYNAST Dynast Amir. And then also to search for Huru.com is the website. And then also too, I have the clothing line as well, Dynast Amir. So DynastAmir.com, where you can purchase indigenous African art, jewelry, fashion, and accessories. And that's it.
That's what's up. Again, if it ain't books, it's clothing, it's documentaries, it's film, it's giving out information on YouTube just for us people sitting at home that are contemplating doing something different, as well as being re-educated and innovated on our minds on what life really is outside of this little video bubble that we're in here in the States. And I appreciate all the hard work you do. And this quote that I'm going to give at the end actually is a testament to you and your work.
Okay.
You made a video about the conscious community and how you can't call yourself conscious, or paraphrasing, if you don't know who Steve Biko is and his work.
Right, right.
And that opened up my eyes. That was a name that I'd heard of, but I hadn't done any research on to really understand that the word consciousness and the phrase and stuff that we use now, it comes from this man. So,
yes, it does.
In the words of Steve Biko, he says, "Black consciousness is an attitude of the mind and a way of life, the most positive call to emanate from the black world for a long time. Until the next time, peace and love from the Conscious Conversations podcast."
Right.